Yeah! What the fuck? Hello and welcome to this Warno 1v1 game played on Urban Frontlines Duel. Today we've got Egg playing 27Y and he's going up against Gucci Gang Hots playing 101st US Airborne. So we'll go through the deck reviews, then we'll talk about the map, the matchup, the deployments and the game, and as always timestamps in the description. Right, so this is the deck review for Gucci Gang Hots, and he's playing 101st US Airborne, so let's go through it tab by tab. So this div doesn't really have a lot of tanks or artillery, so 2 cards of supply is quite sensible, although we'll get to this later. Basically, this is a wheeled CV at 3 per card, and then you've got Helo CV, which is a terrible idea, Helo CV, which is a terrible idea, so you might as well bring this one. Then in terms of your supply cards, you've got Helo supply, so this is 6 at 1,000 per card, right? Sorry, per unit. They're always 6,000 per card unless it's bugged. And this is 3 at 2,000 per unit. So the idea is basically that you use the helos to supply the smaller ones, and then between the smaller ones, this is only 300 supply in a card, in a unit, and it's 20 points. Whereas for 25, you get 500, so it's just way better, like way better. It's also faster, so this is just pointless, really. Basically, this used to come with a helo transport, and you would use it to get 20 helo transports, so you could just chuck 20 helo transports at somebody in 10v10, but they removed that because it was dumb. And now there's not much of a point in this unit unless you bring 3 cards of supply, in which case you basically have to bring it. Or you could bring the helos, right? But yeah, I think this is fairly normal, perfectly normal. Infantry tab, so okay, so this is a lot of CVs now. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is really on the high end. So this you definitely need, so I'd be removing one of these. So this is a Helo transported CV, right? And this is literally 3 guys. So I'd be getting rid of this one. It is nice and cheap, like, but you've already got, because it comes in a Humvee, right? You've already got a wheeled CV, and this is a nice big beefy infantry CV. Your other options are for 60 points. You can get these guys, who, to be honest, are probably better, because so for 40 points more, you get 12 instead of 9, but no smoke. And the idea is that these guys can actually fight on the front lines and win a fight, except like that. So that's the idea. But in practice, what happens is these show up to the front line, and the enemy immediately buys a bomber and comes and kills them. And so yeah, I mean this can work, but for 60 points you can get smoke and AT and still 9, and you can still bring it in a helo if you want. So I feel like this is just better. But everybody always brings this one because it's the meme, right? But from a purely competitive point of view, this one's better. So between the Black Hawk and the Chinook, the Chinook is 260, so it is fast and 20 kilometers an hour, whereas the Black Hawk is 245 and only 10% ECM. Did I say 20 kilometers an hour? I meant 20% ECM. 260 versus 245. This is a special forces transport, which helicopter special forces don't go any faster, but ground-based ones do. And, this infantry will move faster than this one, even though this says 24 and this says 24. So then we've got Green Berets ODA, so this is like these guys, except it's not a CV. And so, yeah, 2 more guys. So it costs the same, but 2 more guys. And it's got better AT, and it's got DMR. So DMR is like 2 machine guns, and a machine gun's like 2 rifles. So this is like 4 machine guns, 8 rifles, plus 11. They shoot with the strength of 19 men. It's basically the best infantry squad in the game for shooty. I'm trying to think now. I mean, Spetsnaz would win anyway because of the RPOs and whatnot. So, but yeah, it's a good squad. The thing with special forces, right, is that upvetting them gives you more of a bonus than it would for a regular unit. It also makes them even faster, even though that's not said basically anywhere in the game. And so that's why people upvet this to be 2 instead of 3, because the loss of 1 availability is a problem. But these guys are just way better as a result of that. Then you've got aero rifles AT4, so this is 13 men with 3 machine guns and AT4s. Very, very nice squad. So 16 shooty power and AT4s for 80 points. And people do tend to 2-vet a lot of the infantry in this division because you get so much of it. And then we've got the Aero Fire Team AT4. So this is 5 men with AT4s. It's quite rare to see this one, actually. I'm surprised he's brought it. For 10 points more, you could get the MP Patrol M67, which has less availability but will also be a military police squad, buffing up everybody's suppression, and it's got the recoilless rifle, which is really nice. Because it can shoot at infantry and at vehicles, and it's got more range, right, than the AT4, for example. So I vastly prefer the MP Patrol over the Aero Fire Team AT4. But the idea here, I suppose, is sometimes you just need a bit of cheap infantry to fill a gap, and this fulfills that purpose. Then we've got Aero Rifles Dragon, so 9 men with, 7 plus 4, 11 quick maths, shooty power, and then Dragon 2s, and they're in Humvees, and they're at 2 vet. So yeah, fairly decent squad for 65 points. Pretty decent squad for 65 points. Then Aero Engineers, so 10 men with satchels. Should they be 55 points? Who knows? I don't really think so. The main advantage is they've got 1 extra rank of vet over conventional engineers. That's the main advantage. So, yeah, you just run them at people and use the satchels. It's a shame there's no, like, big boy flash equivalent, except these guys who are a CV anyway, so you... But yeah, all the flashes on America outside of these guys are kind of hard to use because they're in 5-man teams, whereas the Russian RPO guys are 8 men, which just makes them way better. And they're way more ubiquitous as well. But hey, what can I say? The Soviet Union won the Cold War, right? And if you don't believe that, then I'm gonna send you hate mail on your YouTube channel. Some really nasty things people have said about that. Anyway, occupational hazard, I guess. Totus are nice, and then you can get it in the Black Hawk or in the car, the Gamma Goat. And so, yeah, why not? 2 cards, but that's because, yeah, there's 5 ATGMs here, and then some more here. No grenade launchers on this div, sadly, and I'm trying to think what we could spend our extra pointage on. I'm sure we'll think of something. But yes, this would be the most obvious place to spend it. It would be the MP Patrol, really, for me. Get the MP Patrol in there. Or, I mean, maybe there is something to be said for getting these guys and just having them as infantry. And because if you lose them, whatever, just buy another one, right? The enemy will send a plane to come kill them, but you've got plenty of CVs. I mean, it can work, really, but wouldn't you rather have maybe a second card of Aero Engineers? Or really, I think the MP Patrol is very, very useful, even if this isn't a military police vehicle. Artillery, so if you buy 4 howitzers in a 1v1, you tend to lose. So I think a better idea would be to upvet these. Also, you can't really keep 4 howitzers firing for the whole game because you've only got 2 cards of supply. So I think if you really want to do this, I'd be upvetting them so they're 2 vet, and then, just take care of them, and they'll fire very fast now. And then you put a CV next to them so they're 3 vet, and then they fire really quite quickly. Aim time 16 seconds, aim time 20 seconds, do you know what I mean? Or you can just save 2 AP here, right? Save 3 AP. Oh, now you got an extra plane. Wouldn't it be nice to have extra planes? I'm trying to think where else you could spend it. But no, I think having the MP patrol and having these upvetted is probably a good idea. Then mortars for smoke. I guess he's brought this in the Chinook so that he can use the Chinooks to scout as opposed to actually getting these so he can move around the mortars. The disadvantage of that is that the mortar will then die to counter battery immediately, unless you keep the helicopter with it. But the idea, I suppose, I mean, so you can actually use these for smoke, and because you get 3 at 2 vet, it's actually not so bad. At 2 vet, because the range is big, so yeah, and the smoke actually lands faster. The smoke actually lands faster because mortar trajectories in this game are absurd. So even though it takes longer to aim, the smoke actually does land faster, and the splash of the smoke radius is bigger because it's 105 millimeters as opposed to 81 or what is this 107? Okay, so 107 would be bigger, but yeah, it's actually not so bad actually for smoke using these. Bit pricier, but a bit more survivable, right? 8 HP instead of 2, and they're further away, so that it takes longer for the enemy shells to hit them, and the dispersion is bigger. So yeah, not a bad unit, this one. For smoking. So that's something to consider, but if you want 6 Chinooks, so you can use 6 Chinooks, I mean, do you not... you could get 5 Black Hawks there. So whatever, you do you. Tank tab, so basically you kind of have to bring these like this, because at Novet they're just useless, they don't do anything. They're basically like a better Challenger 1 Mark II, but with less availability. They can survive a Conqueror's side hit, they can survive a Law 80 side hit, and they can survive an Apolas side hit, whereas a Leopard 2 would die to a Conqueror's side hit. Or, this would one-shot a Leopard 2 on the side armor. So it's really not a bad tank, especially since the range went up, which was a while ago. So yeah, you bring it at 1 vet because you want it to be useful, and then Humvees for your ATGM needs. And you've got some here, but it's nice to have some more. Send these around the side, be annoying, that sort of thing. This is cheaper, but it is a lot worse. It's also really slow, which is a big problem. Recon. So he's missed a trick here. Basically, right. Special Forces ground transports go faster. Special Forces, but helicopters don't. Special Forces go faster with increased veterancy. Right. So you want 1 card of Delta at max vet. So that because they'll get there before any other ground transport in the game, because they've got the Airborne forward deployment, and Special Forces with base 100 at 3 vet makes it go really fast. So you want 1 set in the Delta Force Humvee at max vet. Then you want the other guys, because you only need basically 2 to get somewhere super duper fast at the start of the game. Then it stops being important. So then the other guy should be in the grenade launcher Humvee, so that you've got a nice grenade launcher to hurt people with. Because it doesn't really matter if these guys show up second, because you've already got guys who are going to show up first. Aero Scouts is a nice squad, 10 men, 65 points, nice squad. Aero Scouts GSR is a bit of a weird one, so they are a really nice squad to have. But yeah, they're very expensive in comparison. For 3 men, you're paying 35 points. The idea is it's got exceptional optics when it stood still, which can be very useful. And then we've got snipers in the grenade launchers, so that you can have more grenade launchers. And the American snipers are decent because they've actually got 2 snipers, or a sniper and a DMR, so it's very useful. Between your recon helos, this is 3 availability, exceptional optics, and has some 14 rockets that won't do anything. And this is 2 availability, exceptional optics. So it's got hellfires, which can be very, very useful. It's very difficult to keep these alive, but they are very useful. The alternative would be this, which is 2 availability, very good optics, but it's like this is actually really, really useful to have. It's got this jammer thing on it, which you won't notice what it does, but basically it makes the enemy's corrected shot on his artillery not work. But it's got 40% ECM and 8 HP. This will die to 1 man-pad hit, and this won't. The idea is you fly this in front of your Apaches to keep your Apaches alive. So this is nice to have, basically. But then that means you don't have the Hellfires at the start of the game. Because basically you would open with this and a fighter to keep it alive. And you would use this to snipe enemy transports on the road. You don't have to do that because you're already going to get there first with the Delta Force. So you don't really have to do this. It's probably better to have the quick fix. So you can send this in front of your Apaches and keep them alive. But, you know, it's a personal preference thing. Now, then we've got the AA tab. So chaparrals for long range, yeah, why not? Then this is your IFV equivalent. Because you basically don't have any infantry fire support, and infantry kills other infantry very slowly in this game. So, but in comparison to this, for example, so you use the pivads against the infantry, and it's very good at doing it. Then the aero stingers, so this is just stingers, and the reason you bring it in the mule, even though it's slower than the Humvee, is for more infantry fire support. I've seen people bring these and leave 3 of them in a long line, and then the enemy flies and shoots 1 down, and then the other 2 try and kill him. It doesn't make much sense to me. Why not have 3 stingers on the ground in a long line? So these are really only useful at the start of the game, and frankly I don't think they're that good. And it's only 3 availability, whereas this is 8. Helis, so the Apache ATAS has stingers and hellfires, or you can just get more hellfires, or you can get 38 rockets. So yeah, you can do what you want. I prefer this one as well. I think the Little Bird is garbage. I just think it's absolutely awful. I'd be bringing 2 heavy hogs instead. But maybe we'll see this work in game. I just don't think it will. Having said that, now that autocannons have been nerfed against helos, maybe these could actually shoot at something. Then the DAP. So this used to not be that great, but basically they lowered the HP of Apaches to 8 from 10. And so now this is the same as an Apache in terms of HP, so it's fine by comparison. And for 90 points less, you get the same gun. And then 2 miniguns. Miniguns got massively nerfed, like 2 patches ago, for basically no reason. And the 19 Hydras, which won't do anything. So basically it's just for this gun, which is a very nice gun. And because it's at max vet with special forces, the gun is actually really quite good. Air, so this is very typical. You bring 2 Eagles, so this thing is like worse than the top packed planes. Less range, less suppression on the short range missiles. Doesn't turn as well, and this is, yeah, it's very frustrating, but that's, don't you know the Soviet Union was better at everything, and if you don't agree with me, I'm going to say that you deserve to go to hell for all eternity and burn in the hellfire. Somebody actually did say that to me. Lovely bloke. Anyway, because I disagreed with him about balance in a video game, he called me a terrible Muslim, and said that, basically what he accused me of being is like a traitor to the religion, which is obviously a very bad thing. Anyway, you always want to get a bomber so that you can kill enemy infantry that do a breakthrough or something. You don't really use this offensively. You can if you want. But it's a nice cheap bomber. 2-minute reload. It's nothing fancy, but it's really quite nice for the price. Sadly, only 2 availability, but unlike something like a MiG-21 HE. But it's NATO, and NATO isn't allowed nice things. So yeah, all in all, decent div. But you know, I mean, for the sake of like reduced reload on your howitzers, wouldn't you rather have an extra Apache? Do you know what I mean? So switching to his opponent's deck, we've got Egg, and he's playing 27Y. So we'll go through this tab by tab. Bit of an interesting setup here. So the idea behind this division is that you spam BMP3s and BMP2s, and then you've got T80BVs to back it up. So first things first. Oh, you do only get one card of that. Interesting. So 3 cards of supply is pretty normal because you've got a lot of artillery and a lot of. You usually have a lot of tanks. Then in terms of CVs, this is 40 points. So it's really useful to get this because you could just buy 2 of these at the start and spread them out. This is your wheeled CVs, right? But you've already got a wheeled CV here in the form of the infantry CV, so you might as well go for a tracked one. You don't really want a CV BMP2 because you're gonna keep if you want to use the shooty power, you have to use the shooty power, and then the enemy just comes and kills it because it's a CV. So you don't really want to be doing that. You can get 2 of these for less than the price of one of these. You can literally just buy 2 at the start every single time, so why not bring it this way? Then in terms of supply, we've got slow tracked armored and then fast wheeled. I prefer the fast wheeled, so when I bring 3 cards, I bring 2 of this and 1 of this, as opposed to the other way around, right? Because you could do this, but I think it's best to have the fast wheeled ones because they're more convenient. This is just because it's cheaper, basically. It doesn't carry as much supply though. Infantry, so in terms of our infantry CV options, we've got this, which is 4 guys with smoke, or this, which is 4 guys without smoke. So you might as well get the 4 guys with the smoke. I mean, this is just better. Like, what? It has a better RPG, an SVD, and smoke. For the same price, this. I mean, I guess it gets 6 rounds on this, which it shouldn't really, because there's only 4 of them, so I don't know why they're keeping them. But it's obviously just worse, because you want the smoke and the higher pen anyway, and the DMR makes, this is like 4 rifles. Not that you want these guys in combat. Then Commandatura in the UAS Commandatura is actually a pretty cool idea. So this is a military police vehicle, so you can put it with your tanks to give you more suppression resistance. Having said that, you can do without it, to be honest. If you've not got this, which you should probably have. Then we've got some very interesting decision making here. So the RPG 27 is the one that comes on the BMP3, right? So basically, for 5 points more, you can get a grenade launcher without losing the smoke. So you might as well do that. Pumachiki have 3 machine guns. They're actually a pretty decent squad. So that's fair enough bringing those. But yeah, you definitely want the BMP2AG. For 5 points more, getting a grenade launcher is just a no-brainer, really. Especially as you don't lose the smoke. On the BMP1, getting the grenade launcher makes you lose the smoke. Then we've got Motostroke Metis, so 7 men in a BTR-80. Yeah, the BTR-80 is pretty nice for 35 points. It's actually got 10 HP, unlike SPW-70s or BTR-60s, who have got 8. This actually has 10. And it, it's pretty fast. 2 front armor, 2 side armor, smoke, amphibious. It's really quite good. So yeah, that's a nice one. And the Metis are fairly decent. This actually shoots in a forest now. But they used to be a lot better when they had 500 meters more range. Then right, so this should be in the 2AG. This should be in the 2AG. And then the BMP3, yeah, you see people only bring like 1 card of this, whatever. The idea being that it's a lot more expensive than the other one. It is a lot better, but it is 35 points more. This is very nice missile. And this is just a HE gun. It can't shoot this at the same time as shooting the ATGM, but it can shoot this and the autocannon at the same time. It's very, and it's got 3 PKTs. It's a very nice piece of equipment. Then Saperi RPO, so you can either bring it at no vet if you want to just use it for the RPO, or you bring it at 1 vet if you actually want it to fight, in which case you don't get as many of them. Then the Conquer's M, which is Pact's best ground-fired ATGM, to my knowledge, infantry ATGM. It's got tandem, so it'll deal +1 damage to somebody with the ERA trait, which actually makes it like hard counter ERA, basically, because you're going to usually have to hit them twice, so you do 2 extra damage, whereas ERA used to give you 2 HP, and now it only gives you 1, so yeah, that is a problem. I think, given that you only have 2 tanks, or 4 tanks, it's probably not much point in bringing these guys, and I would swap them out for the 30mm grenade launcher, so that you can defend territory with the grenade launcher. You would struggle in forests, but the idea is the Pulmachiki and the Saperi can basically do that anyway. You know, these guys are nothing special in forest fights. You don't have any reservist guys, so yeah, it's a nice idea, but I don't think it works with, you know, you don't have enough availability, basically. Artillery, so laser-guided Acacias get very nice corrected shots, so this would actually be countered by that jammer helicopter that the 101st player isn't bringing, but when you go into ranked, the chances of you coming up against 27Y are like, what, 1 in 39 or 1 in 41 or something like that. So yeah, these are very nice. I wouldn't be bringing... Right, so it's a 1 point slot, okay. But then that would actually be 2 points. Because you're already down 1 here. And then these are presumably for smoke. Which, okay, fine. It is interesting how cheap this is. And it's got more range, so the dispersion's actually pretty low, but the rate of fire would be the same, actually, the same vet, you know. Yeah, these are good if you get recon, because they have a very tight dispersion circle. Then he's bought a grad, which is fair enough, really. Because then you can use your 3 cards of supply and just play a nice slow game. These for smoke instead of this. So this would be 65. And this might actually be better at it, because the trajectory, because it's at no vet, I believe the smoke would actually fade. I'm not 100% sure, actually. Yeah, we'll see how it goes in game. Tank tab, so the BRDM2 Conquer's M is very nice. It's like the Humvee TOW 2 on the other side, except it's even faster, I believe, and also the missile isn't as good, but it's got more of them. Then the Sprut B, I mean, I've had this used against me and it worked quite well, but I think it's more of a meme unit. But if you can get it in range, it really does upset people if it hits them, because it deals 23 pen, which is pretty absurd, actually. And it's kinetic, so the closer they get, the more it does. So yeah, if you're quite aggressive with it, like you smoke a position so you can run a Sprut in, it can work. I've seen that done against me. But then, yeah, so CV tank and then T80 BV, so 6 CVs, but like, you don't have enough tanks, I think. Recon, so Razved could be MP2. He's brought it at no vet so we can get as many as possible. I mean, on the one hand, sure, but on the other hand, you've already got, you know, 1, 2, 3 cards of BMP2s. So I would have this at 1 vet. You're not playing 119Y, you know, you've got enough infantry. Spets Razvedka in the rocket helo, so basically you don't have any airborne forward deployed in this deck. And so these guys in the BTR 80 would be your fastest deployment, because, you know, road speed 100. This might work. It's just going to make your opener very weak, because you can't afford many of those, right? And then I guess you could buy 2 at the start and protect them with a jet and use that to gain ground, but otherwise you're going to be quite far behind. then this is this shouldn't be a 6 availability. Basically, the NATO ones are all at 4. But yeah, you gives you your tanks exceptional optics, but you don't actually have that many tanks. So maybe it'd be better to just bring this one. So you'd still get very good optics, and it's more availability, and it's cheaper. Actually, it's less. Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's not a lot of tanks. Okay. Right. I'd swap one of these out for the Strela 10M. Anyway, so we've got Iglas for close range air defense. These are really good against infantry. They're pretty broken right now. They've got this patch gave them a 250-meter minimum range, but forest minimum range is 350 meters, so they're still really good. So I can understand bringing those. Then you've got the Tor for long range AA, and then like you don't really need 6 Tors. Basically, this is very nice. It's certainly better than the Tunguska for the same price, and it's got very nice range, fire and forget missiles, very nice accuracy. It can fire while moving. This has a bit of a problem where the missiles don't bend enough, so if the enemy gets close enough, you just miss him all the time. Then helos, so that the AA helo isn't very good anymore. People just run jets into them. Ever since the HP went down, it's just going to die in one pass. So yeah, you might as well bring the AT ones. I prefer this one. So this one has more cocons, but this one has longer range rockets, which are cheaper to resupply, but it does have fewer of them. So I personally prefer this one, so I'd bring 2 of these, but honestly, it's not really a big deal. Air tab. So yeah, the MiG-29, this isn't the amazing one, but it's still pretty good. Longer range missiles than anything NATO gets. And then additional ASFs. This is like equivalent to the NATO missile, and this is better than the best NATO short-range missile because it's got more suppression. But what do I know? And then this is really good against tanks. So the thing is, this only comes on this division, and there's never any reason to bring it because it not only is it garbage, but you've just got a better option right here. And then the MiG-27 HE for just bombing infantry, I guess. I wouldn't get this. I would get the rocket one, because this reloads in 80 seconds, whereas this is 2 minutes. I mean, it's got a very nice gun on it. But this is kind of nice, and it costs less. It's got more ECM, and it's actually faster. And it's got the Sidewinder missiles. I vastly prefer this one. Sadly, it's only 2 per card instead of 3. But yeah, just not a whole lot of tanks here. I mean, trying to think. Like, because you kind of do need some smoke stuff. I understand the strategy is to play it slow, but then you're playing it slow with 4 tanks. So is that really what you want? Don't you want some more tanks? What would you even get rid of? That's a 3-point slot. There you go. I got you some more tanks. Is that 3 as well? So, and then these are 1-pointers. That's the issue, right? So you'd have to get rid of, like, basically the Grad and the Acacia and downvet this to get another tank. Or you could get rid of this. Yeah, so you don't really need this. I mean, it's nice to have, but you don't really need it. And then you just downvet this and get rid of that one. And there you go. Now you've got another tank. Right? Do you not want tanks? I mean, it seems kind of like a strange decision to me. Right? Or you could come back and get this extra infantry slot, which I don't really think you need. So yeah, that's how I would fix that deck, as it were. So just going through the tabs so you can see everything. So that's enough yappage. Now let's cover the map, the matchup, the deployments, and the game. And as always, timestamps in the description. Right, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the map. 27Y is actually classed as an infantry division. I suppose that's more of a matchup discussion. The map, it's urban, so typically you want infantry divisions. 27Y is typically classed as an infantry division. Like, it's called Motostrelki, right, which is Russian for motorized infantry, from what I understand. but basically it's more of a like an IFV division, lots of mechanized stuff. So this isn't the best map for 27Y, but it still does have a lot of infantry. It's just those infantry tend to come in quite expensive IFVs, so you can't spam the infantry because you're typically spamming IFVs. IFVs are still reasonably good on this map. The main issue is that there's just lots and lots and lots of tall buildings which can see further than atheists, and they put their ATGMs in the tall buildings, and then they shoot you. So can be quite frustrating. So he's still got a chance, but generally it's this is a better map for 101st Airborne. 101st Airborne is a very light division, lots of infantry without much support. So it does get 6 MIP Abrams at 1 vet, 2 of which are command tanks. And you can use the PIVADs as anti-infantry, but generally it's just infantry and helicopters, infantry and helicopters. The bigger the map, the better this division is, because the helicopters gives you more mobility, and the infantry you can spread out. But this is a pretty nice map for 101st Airborne, because it is fairly wide. I understand that the corners have been cut off here. You can't go in these darker zones. But yeah, they've got lots of infantry, and there's lots of buildings to put infantry in. So let's talk about the deployment. So we've got Egg here playing 27Y, and he's got a BRM-1K going all the way round on the left to try and get a good flanking position. These are really not to be underestimated. If this hits you and you're a thin-skinned vehicle, you'll die in one hit. The only issue is 35% accuracy, but whenever it's against me, it's 100%, right? And then whenever I'm using it, it's 0%. So, just one of those things, I suppose. But this is basically an SPG-9 gun, if you're familiar with the infantry units. So it is actually really... it's a lot better than people think it is. If you get side shots on armored vehicles, you can kill them, basically. Then we've got 4 Razvedka BMP2. So we spoke about this in the deck review. I think these should be at 1 vet because this is a BMP2 div, so you get plenty of them anyway. But these are really quite nice. So he's bought 4 of them, and he's sending one to this building, one to this building, the infantry that is, one to this building and one to this building, and then he's repathing the IFVs to come around to various places, right? Then behind that, we've got the ZU-23 anti-infantry, so this is like the PIVADs on the other side. It's supposed to be a towed gun against helicopters and planes, but people just use it as anti-infantry, and it's very good at that. And it's not actually very good at being a towed gun for anti-air. And on this map, they're quite useful because you can just put them in choke points, like there, and then typically the infantry comes first, and then it kills it, and then you've got to bring up an artillery piece to kill it, or an IFV. So they're very good on this map. And the Saperi RPOs go into the town on the left. Then we've got 2 MiG-29s, so he's definitely expecting a helicopter attack. But so if you were going to do this, so basically he also has Mi-8 rockets in his recon tab. So if he was going to do this with the air cover, he should have had at least one of those rocket helos to get to, here or something with the infantry, and you would cover the helicopters with the planes. So if you've got the planes, you might as well go for the helos as well. Otherwise, this might be a huge waste of money. Then we've got another AA gun, right? And that's going to this forest here. They do take advantage of forest stealth, so good stealth there. And then we've got, military police, and then the vehicles coming back. We spoke about this in the deck review. He's only got 4 tanks, which is really kind of weird for this division. So you don't really need this. And then, BTR-80 CV, unloading in Golf, and a TOR for long-range AA. And you see he's very thin on the ground because he bought the 2 planes. So he could have just gone for 1 plane. Typically, 101st players don't heli rush. If they're any good, they won't, because there's no reason to. But what they can do is buy the that Hellfire Launcher or whatever, the Recon one, send that out and snipe your transport. So it can be worth having 1 jet, but I think 2 doesn't make much sense unless you're planning to do your own heli attack. Switching to his opponent's deployment, we've got Gucci Gang Hots playing 101st Airborne. So you spoke about this in the deck review. Basically, the deltas are at the wrong veterancy. You should have one card at 3 vet, because then they go super duper fast. I don't think he's realised that this pathing takes him round here, at which point it would probably be better to just go for this. So these will not go as fast as they could do. Basically, if they're at 3 vet, you can get to here before the enemy does. If he's got airborne forward deployment, he doesn't. He has a recon, and it's tracked or helo. He's got no wheeled recon, because he brought them in the Mi-8 rocket. So, very slow off the bat. But you would assume he would have a wheeled recon. But yeah, this can get to here before this does. Even because it's tracked, it can actually get to here before this does, if it was at max vet, which it's not. But yeah, there's that Kyoto warrior with the Hellfire, so having the jet makes sense, because this might happen, and look, it is. And then we've got 2 deltas, which are going to the same building, I guess, which doesn't, it's not... Oh no, I see, one's going here. Yeah, okay, fair enough. I mean, basically, a delta at max vet could actually get to this building. Which is pretty powerful, right? Or this one, or whatever. Or this one from this side, because then they would come down here. Instead, they're sort of going... Not a great way, to tell you the truth, because the enemy should see this if he's coming down here. We'll see if he does. So 3 deltas there, one's going on this side, and then 2 more deltas, one for here. This guy, if he was at max vet, could get all the way up to here, and this guy, if he was at max vet, could get to here. But you'd only have 2 at max vet, because you'd only bring 1 card at max vet, so you got to pick your moments. Basically, I'd be going for Charlie Foxtrot, because you're a light div, you're not strong in the open, and this is the most open part of the map. So you don't really want to be fighting here, you want to be fighting here, because this is where you have your advantage. Just something to think about. But then you get into the rigmarole where it's like, well, look, he might think I'm going here, because that would be the obvious thing to do. But, try not to overthink it. Against most players, just playing optimally just makes perfect sense, as opposed to trying to outthink them or whatever. Most people don't think. Anyway, this is an anti-infantry pivads. It's supposed to be for helos and everything, but it's just not really. And then you've got a CV for Echo, Humvee Tow going all the way around. So that's you do like to see that. Could have sent a pivads with it. Do you know what I mean? Like, instead of sending the pivads up here, the pivads could be coming with this, because they usually send a helo to deal with it, and then you unload the pivads and it just kills it. And then 2 chaparral. So he really wants to attack Hotel, which is not really where he's strongest. But, looking at this deployment, it looks like it's going to work, because this guy's quite thin on the ground, and he would be anyway. 27th is quite a slow division to build up. Then we've got a supply, TOW 2, so the supplies for the TOW 2, and then a CV for Delta Bravo Alpha. So yeah, typically on this side, you'd go, and there's a CV here for Echo, right? You'd go Delta Bravo Alpha with 1, and then Echo Charlie with 1, or if you're attacking over here, Echo India or Echo Hotel. So that's it for the deployments. Now let's cast the game. Right, so they're off, and it's time for me to thank the generous channel joiners, generously joining the channel. They get their names on the screen, they get the videos early, they get members exclusive videos. One join at the lowest level is worth 2,000 views, so if you're feeling bad about your ad block, it's a great way to support the channel. This is my sole source of income. Trying to finish off a PhD, they're not letting me submit it, they keep telling me to change things. So I've got this big document of just like back and forth nonsense where they tell me to do something, I say, and they're like, oh yeah, you got a choice, you may want to do this, and I say, well, I'm deciding not to, and then they say, well, I'm not letting you submit your thesis until you do it. It's your choice, though. So, that sort of thing. Anyway, this has taken ages. They started shooting each other. My existential crisis is kicking in. But you saw how fast these got here, right? So this could have actually come all the way up to here easily. This should have been landed as soon as he saw those MiG-29s instead of just eating it. It's very difficult to keep those alive because they've only got 4 HP. But if he'd got the other, so like this guy actually could have got all, because you'd expect them to put somebody here, but he actually hasn't. But yeah, this could have even got all the way up to here or to here, but typically you'd put it here. So yeah, it's always worth having a Delta Force at the maximum veterancy so it can go faster. So here we go, we got some Humvee Delta engaging, and he did actually make it all the way up here, right? So he changed his mind from here. So that's cool. So this Delta needs to get into a building, really. It shouldn't just be stood in the open. Using the MiG-29s to strafe people is very intelligent. And yeah, these chappies are just having a problem here. Mainly because like so the buildings are blocking them and stuff, so they can't see it all the time. So even though it had the range, it didn't really shoot there. But yeah, with the 27Y play, so you see the problem with the IFVs. We spoke about that in the deployment, which you definitely didn't skip. They're kind of hard to keep alive because there's so many tall buildings that the ATGMs can take them out. This BRM-1K has made good progress, and yes, the Delta are going for the building now. And the Razvedka BMP2 is probably going to get caught out here, and this would not one-shot the front armor, because you would need 18 for that, but it was the side armor, which is only 2, and 16 is enough to one-shot 2 side armor. So Motostrelki running away here, because he doesn't know how far in here he's made it, and then they always send helicopters, as we spoke about, so that's why he brought the chappies, I suppose. Selling the transport this came in was probably not sensible, because now he can't move it up, because it's very, very slow. This goes at 9, this goes at 24, so it's a big difference. And yeah, the motorized Razvedka might catch out the Chaparrals here. These things are really, like, so for the same price, he could have actually bought an Eagle. But yeah, I don't know, like a couple Stingers would probably have been a better investment here, because the Chappies, they're slow, they die in one hit. I mean, that was a miss. But whereas the Stingers, they're actually twice as fast, and they can hide in the buildings and so on, so that they'd be taking this out right now. And yeah, he can't move up the pivot. So it looks like Gucci Gang's got a bit of a problem here with these helicopters. He is, however, going to capture India. So what typically people would go for India because it's... So like, Hotel's the big one. If you can get Hotel, great, because then you basically get India. But Hotel's usually a bridge too far. But Egg's decision to open with 2 fighters means that he really was quite thin on the ground here. Which you'd expect from 27Y anyway. So this is an interesting dynamic. The BRM-1K is probably going to kill this, depending on, who sees who first. This doesn't have smoke. It is faster, but it doesn't have smoke. So if this catches up to it, I think it'll probably just die. You see the Pivads engage. You see how fast they kill the infantry. Very, very useful tool to have as 101st Airborne. It basically solves the problem that 101st Airborne used to have, which was that it's not very good against... it struggles to kill infantry because it doesn't have enough fire support. So there you go, there's that 35% accuracy. It did fire twice, although I think one of them was here because it killed something here. Oh no, that was the little bird. Interesting. And also the closer you get, the higher the accuracy is. So, Air Rifles Dragon, 3v1ing the Saperi RPO. You'll note that these are at a high veterancy, and they have two machine guns instead of 1, and there's the DAP. So the rockets aren't particularly fantastic, but they changed them a while ago so that the rockets they ignore cover in buildings. Rockets do. So they're actually really good against infantry in buildings, and they're pretty bad against infantry in the open, because even though they're not in cover, if you're moving, the rockets just seem to miss you a lot. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one that isn't written down anywhere. And you see the power of the Stingers, right? The Stingers, they can get in these buildings and they can really mess up these helicopters, whereas the Chappie has to be very careful. It's got more of a range against planes, right? That's probably why he bought it, right? For the planes. But yeah, 27Y, it usually they get 2 cards of strike craft, the bomber one and the rocket one, or the bomber one and the HE one. It's very rare to see more than that on 27Y, just because the slot costs are so expensive on that air tab, and you need it for your expensive tank tab slot costs, right? But yeah, it looks like Gucci Gang, he's got India, he's got Hotel, but he's given up center, and he really needs to put a couple blocking units here, because if I was Egg, I'd be pushing this, basically. This is a good one to go for, and it looks like he is slowly trying to get there. Because essentially the main barrier to you getting into Bravo is this gap. This gap, because if there's obviously it doesn't have IFVs, but if there was an IFV here, it would kill everybody, right? If there was an IFV here, it would kill everybody trying to cross. And there would, be infantry in this buildings potentially. So if you cross that gap, you can do it. But he doesn't see what we see. Another thing he could try and do is try and get across here, but he'd have to deal with these tows first, because they would kill his vehicles as he tries to get across. But generally, I think yeah, it's tough for the 27Y player because that div kind of struggles to play wide because of all the IFVs and stuff. What you can do is put one of your... Like, I don't really think these are very good, but it did actually kill that. The GAU 19, interesting. So the GAU 19 is actually a lot better than the minigun, which is fair enough, really. I mean, it's a bigger caliber, 50 cal instead of 7.62. The miniguns used to be really good, but they got nerfed. And do you see how this can't see that? That's the main advantage of the Razvedka BMP2, is that it's got mediocre stealth, and then these weapons don't make it get revealed very easily at all. So you'll be able to see it now because this is actually a recon unit, but if you don't have a recon unit looking at it, you can just, like, this has normal optics, right? You can just get shot at and not be able to do anything. It's pretty silly. Anyway, the aero rifles have come up against the ZU, and it's going about how you'd expect. So these now have a 250 meter minimum range. So if you run all the way up to them, then you can kill them. But if you just attack move, it's 350 meters in forests, so it'll kill you. And that's not written down anywhere either, and then that's new from last patch, so it's going to take people a while to get used to that. It's this is a game of hidden mechanics, basically. So here we go, Egg's attacking, and yeah, he's doing the right thing, I think, pushing Bravo, and then you basically get Alpha, right? If you've got Bravo, because you come down to here, they can't get in, and then you can go on Alpha. So these air rifles AT4, if they went forwards a building, they'd be able to kill all these BMP2s. So that's something he could do, but I guess he can't see it. Like, he doesn't know that's there. But it's always worth checking, and you see that it's a big squad. It does quite well against the Monostrelki. The air rifles just keep getting shot by the ZU. It's actually pretty hilarious how dumb these things are. But yeah, they've got that minimum range, but if you don't know about it, then... and that only happened in the last patch. I can't remember if I mentioned it in the patch notes, which were like 3 hours long or whatever, but there you go. So, yeah, Delta Force getting pushed out here. The helicopters have got him. Although that didn't really have to happen at all. It's losing like 110 points there, so that's what, 45 plus 60, 105 points. Not fantastic, but the red wave continues, and Gucci Gang, he's doing well to so basically once you take this, you push this way, and then that isolates this zone. That's the way, if you want to win at the game, it's a really good way to think about it, is that you don't just run into a zone. I mean, you can, and it does often work. And if the enemy's weak there, then it makes sense. But you want to see it in terms of, like, getting around a zone, and then if they can't resupply that zone, then taking the zone becomes a lot easier. Against a good player, they'll start hiding their guys behind buildings and stuff. But, it's still easier than attacking it from the front. So, yeah. BMP2 Swarm here, sending in the CV. And here we go, aero rifles trying to get into Golf. Sorry, I had to zoom out to see the name, but I don't know, that feels like a bridge too far. So, got some Delta Force here, right? And, yeah. Humvee Delta's doing quite well against the Pullman Cheeky, but these MI8, so he actually brings his recon in this. So he's actually got quite a few of those. He's got like 6 of these. And it can work, but then, you saw how weak his deployment was. But basically, Gucci Gang didn't put enough blocking units here, and he got pushed. Although, to be honest, I mean, he did have some, but they were killed. So he needed some more, basically. Like, once he'd taken this, he should have started sending here, but, it's a big map, and we know where everything's going. Whereas if you're on the ground, you don't know if they're gonna come for the, you'd expect him to keep fighting for this. Whereas he didn't. He gave up and switched into Bravo, which I think makes a lot of sense, personally. I mean, it's clearly working. And I think it's keeping him in the game. I mean, he's 1,000 points down, Egg, but if he gets Alpha and Bravo, then he'll actually be on a +1. I think, because then it would take this, that's +2, so this would then be +1 to Gucci Gang, and then take this, it would be +1 to Egg, I believe. Because he's got mid, so you see Gucci Gang's got 2 of Egg's zones, but if Egg takes 2 of his and he's got mid, he'd win that. So what do you want to do if you're Gucci Gang in this position? I think he's sort of overextended himself a little bit by attacking here, and now he doesn't have much of a front line here. So he actually does have to send a couple units here. And the helo transports can actually be quite good for that. But yeah, I think this is a more pressing concern, making sure the enemy doesn't push Bravo. Now, Egg's been quite lethargic in his push, sadly. That one Aero AT4 guy did a lot of work over here. So yeah, Egg needs to push a little bit faster before all this stuff starts showing up. The only issue... Wow, okay, so did you see how that died in 2 stages? He got a crit there, which dealt an additional 2 damage, which made it die, because otherwise this wouldn't one-shot that. As you'll see when it shoots this one. Or misses twice, okay. So some Stingers purchased here, right, and Egg, he's taken Alpha. He's got this up to here. It's a pretty cool attack, right? He's you know, pressuring this, and then he takes this. He's got this around. Very, very difficult for Blue to get back in here once he loses it, because you don't know where these units are in the forest. It can be very frustrating to deal with. CV died in its transport there, which is not fantastic. And the Chappies are dying as well. So, yeah, Gucci Gang, really strong early game, but as the 27th player gets online, like, this is more of a late game div, basically. Mid to late game div. Although the way he's built it, he's not got that many tanks. Although on this map, you don't need that many tanks. So he's quite fortunate in the map that he's got. But yeah, just some... Okay, so he did unload in time. And yeah, this is quite a cheap squad. But it's only 5 men with 1 machine gun. So it's not that good. But I guess on these kinds of maps, it makes sense. Because you can just buy 1, and you can just send it around the side and just blow up some supply or something. So like this guy could be moved up to here, but he'd have to... He'd need some AA, right? And yeah, Gucci Gang continuing to fall back, which I think he has to do, but it looks like this is his main approach here. He gets side shot there, not fantastic, but he can't see it. And now he's showing his side armor again. And now he's dead. So, yeah, it's not great, really. This is not a bad RPG either with the 16 pen. And now, yeah, okay, I mean, it's not fantastic gameplay there. Typically, you'd want the infantry first. To be honest, buying the tanks kind of makes sense to kill BMP2s. But past that, pushing with the tanks, like that was another side shot there. Because he was stunned up and low cohesion, which makes you turn slower. So, Commandatura going down there to the very many people. And this Pivads, you'll see how effective this Pivads is at stopping all this infantry by itself. It's pretty silly, to tell you the truth. Yeah. But, yeah, these guys, they need to unload, right? Okay, so he is doing so. And you see the Pivads just taking out everybody. The little birds, I mean... I suppose he's using them to good effect. I personally could never get them to work, but ever since they nerfed the autocannons, these don't just die to one salvo from a BMP2 anymore. BMP3 is on the field now, and Gucci Gang, he's given up Hotel, but he's taken the time to push Charlie and save Bravo. So yeah, he's staying mobile, which I think is something you really, really need to do as this division. It's worth noting that the Dragon 2s deal 18 pen, which is enough to one-shot a BMP2, but not a BMP3 on the front armor. Egg, however, is showing his side armor, which is 3, so this would actually one-shot that. It did miss, though. So, there's that HE bomber, and the Chappie's dead. And you see it takes out almost takes out a squad there, but I mean, he's basically dead unless he runs away right now, because he's just going to get shot. And yeah, some more Pivads purchased, because they are very, very good against infantry. I think Egg should have probably bought more of those ZUs. Like, I don't think it's good to have it in the deck, because you lose a lot that you would need on most maps. You would need like more T8 BVs basically, but on this map, having the ZU makes a lot of sense. So you could have bought more of those. And yeah, the Mi-8 rockets, everything dying to the Pivads of Doom. It makes a lovely sound. Another one. Another one. Pretty crazy. Needs a bit of supply up for this guy. And you don't really want your Stingers shooting, and you don't want your Delta in the open. So yeah, this should fall back, and he is now doing it. And you can turn off the cover so that they don't automatically go back into the building. You can either press this twice slowly, because otherwise it gets stuck if you press it too fast. It just only registers one click. Or you can bind a hotkey, and that's what I've done. I've got a hotkey bound to turn off cover. Some people just play without auto cover, but I find it... to be honest, I should try it. After playing Broken Arrow, that's got no auto cover, and frankly, I think it's alright, so... So yeah, we got some TOW 2s here, and yeah, it's very difficult for the 27Y player to deal with this. To be honest, the 27Y player needs to buy one of those laser Akatsias and start taking out these positions, because the Dragon 2s typically, so they get outranged by the BMP 2s, right, by 500 meters, but in these maps, you know, that the engagement tends not to be, and this map in particular, the engagement range tends not to be at max range. So the Dragon 2 wins, because he's in a building, he's high veterancy, he one-shots this, and this doesn't one-shot that, right? So, so yeah, fighting with the IFVs against the Dragon 2s is really quite difficult. And you see that the Meeps being used to take out the IFVs. Yeah, the IFV nerfs are actually... they're significant, but I've got PTSD because whenever I use the word significant, my PhD supervisor says you gotta define it. What do you mean? What does significant mean? You gotta define it, or I'm not letting you submit your thesis. He doesn't actually say it like that, but he is not letting me submit my thesis, and that is one of the reasons. So, yeah, we need to... More things need to happen in the game so I can stop having my existential crisis. So these HE bombers are a good way to take out the Pivads, because it's not like it can get out the way. But yeah, getting a bit of arty, I think, would be a good idea for the 27Y player. Like, he's got grads and 3 cards of supply and all sorts, and, you know, if he just stopped for a second and bought a bit of arty, then... you know, I think he'd be doing a lot better. So yeah, Gucci Gang, he's not actually bought any, like, Eagle or anything. So he's really struggling against these MiG-27Ms. They're just killing his guys at a rate of 1 every... Well, there's 2 of them, so 1 a minute. Because, you know, 2 every 2 minutes. There's 1 a minute. Wow, I'm really intelligent. So yeah, another big swing, right? It looked like Blue had basically won it again, but now he's being pushed out. We've got the Eggs retaking India, which will put him on a +1, because he couldn't get Bravo. If he takes India, he'll be on a +1. And that's because Blue owns mid, but Blue that's a neutral zone, whereas this is a red-sided zone. So actually, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 compared to 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's a... yeah, it does matter. So that'll give him that +1 there. Wow. So I think he, like, showed his side armor there. Yeah, he was showing his side and rear armor. I was going to say, how the hell did that do that? He was showing his side and rear armor. And Egg's just not doing a good job of dealing with these little birds. Like, his planes can just kill him, and Gucci Gang hasn't actually bought any planes. So... like, all the little birds should be dying, and indeed they are. You see that this is the Packed Pivad's equivalent. It's pretty good at what it does. So, rockets go down to the Aero Stinger. And, yeah, this is just not intelligent, really. I mean, he could have just smoked it. Healed it. He's got lots of supply here. Waited a second, right? So yeah, that's a big shame, really. I think Red really should have bought that one of those Akatsias. He's on a +2 now, right? He can afford to do so, but... Anyway, Green Berets ODA coming in here, so this would be a perfect opportunity to, like, just use this. The gun on this is actually really good. So just use this to shoot that, or at least bomb it as soon as it lands, right? But apparently this is more important. And it is an important target, right? He's been killing a lot of his IFVs in mid, but this is a more pressing concern, really. And then he evac'd, right? He could have then used the gun on this. And this would have died, because the BMP2 did, you know, a number on it. But yeah, look at that. The autocannon nerfs. Like, that guy only lost 1 HP from that. Usually they'd lose like 2 or 3 and they'd be stunned up and they wouldn't be able to move or anything. So yeah, an interesting change. I think it's a good change in general, because the autocannons were pretty stupid. They're still kind of weird in that if you get lots of hits, they still do loads of damage. Basically, they just nerf the accuracy and like the splash radius, so near misses don't do as much or happen as often. But if you get one BMP2 round on any car, right? There are no cars on the map. That's incredible. Or this, for example, that's got 8 HP. Never mind. One of those 4 HP cars, they would just die. And it's the same for like the Warrior and the Bushmaster. So they are quite powerful. So this guy just sort of chilling out, and now he's dead to the double chappy. I still think so now he's had 4 chaparrals now. I think an eagle would be a better investment because he's playing so wide. You'll note that the CV here did die. He's playing so wide that these chappies, they can't be everywhere. So you want an eagle up, really. The only issue is sometimes you just lose the RNG and the eagle dies, which is not great. 27Y's AA isn't that long range, so you're usually just messing with the MiGs. And the MiG-29 isn't the amazing MiG-29, it's the less good MiG-29. So, yeah, this man runs out of ammo. And Egg, he's on this +2. He's bought some more BMP2s. I think he needs a bit more of a combined arms force there, like, you know, a bit of AA. He has finally bought the Akatsia. As soon as you buy it, you want it to shoot, because it can reload while moving. So you just buy it. Oh, actually, does it even have the range? Okay, it's just about got the range, but from the back of the map it wouldn't have had the range, so that's fair enough, really. But yeah, Gucci Gang playing wide, which is what you want to do as 101st. If you try and play 101st as a narrow division, you just lose. What often you find happening is the 101st player starts getting pushed out of an area and he just keeps doubling down, keeps doubling down, keeps doubling down. And then that means that he's not playing wide anymore, right? He's playing narrow, and his div doesn't win a narrow engagement because it doesn't have the heavy hitters. It's got 6 meeps. They're not bad, but it doesn't have any IFVs, right? And yeah, 6 meeps don't really cut it. So MiG-29 gets too close to the sun there. I'm not sure why he did that, really, because he was over here before with his bomber and that got killed, so he should know that there's something there. And Gucci Gang, he's not unloaded his guy yet, so once he does, he'll be on it'll be plus nothing, because that'll give him 2 points, then it'll stop. So Green Berets ODA, very powerful squad. You'll see that even though there are 3 units there, he actually does still have the numbers. You know, pretty juicy 14-man squad there. So the M249, so 5.56 light support weapons can fire in the same building. And yeah, so this happens basically every time, right? As soon as you bring out the big squad, the bomber comes in. And then he used the gun, and you see how much damage the gun did. But yeah, he dodged in time there. Good dodge from Gucci Gang Hots. And look, he's going on the chappies, and he got one. Well, I think that might have been this. And now he's going to get the other one. The only problem he's got is that his strike craft are dead, so there's not much point focusing the AA if you don't actually have any air. But you might as well kill it. Whoops. I always make that mistake. That was the sticky keys notification. So, Green Berets ODA trying to take this out. The Green Berets will probably win, because this can't even see him, and it's not in cover or anything, so yeah, there you go. If you've got 14 special forces for 100 points, you can take out the the 30-point AA vehicle. And here we go. I did actually miss. Don't know if he's got corrected shot. He does need some recon. So this is something we spoke about, is that all his recon is like expensive stuff. So Razved could be MP2 inf and MI8 rocket inf. And so you can see that Egg is really kind of struggling with the recon. He just doesn't have that much of it. Here we go, Green Berets ODA. They actually bring 8 AT4s. And the air rifles leader got taken out there. Props for the mobile warfare, but what you can do is use the Black Hawks to scout. And looks like Egg is pushing for Echo. Also, he's brought a CV up for Charlie. I think he's only got... I think he has 6 CVs, but he definitely lost one here. And, yeah, I don't know. I can't remember how many CVs he's got left. We know that Gucci Gang has 10, because he actually has 4 CV cards. 3 Humvees, 2 infantry, 2 more infantry, and then 2 tanks, and 3 plus 7 plus 2. What? 3 plus 4 plus 2 is 9, not 10. So I'm not sure where I got 10 from. Yeah, because he's got 2 infantry. Oh no, one of the infantries are 3 availability, so that's 5 on the infantry, plus 3 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Quick maths, wow, I'm so smart. Anyway, Egg's bought another CV, so he's clearly not ran out of CVs, right? But he is buying the tank ones now, which, you know, a bit more pricey. They're, you know, 305 points as opposed to 90 for the BMP2 one, which he brought, which I don't really think is a good idea, but yeah, so I think he's made the right choice attacking Echo. And, you know, it's a shame Egg lost all his helos, because this would be the perfect helo opportunity. What he could also do is just blow this up with artillery, because like, you just can't win this fight. Because this is 9 men special forces, and these Motostrelki, they just don't have what it takes, really. The Saperi RPO is a little bit better for it because of the RPOs. So he needs to get that here, I suppose. And you see that they die pretty fast. So this has very big shooty power. Right, this is like 4 rifles, this is like 4 rifles. 8 plus 11 is 19, quick maths. Shoots with the strength of 19 men. So that's like 3 Motostrelki squads. Because this is 8. So 2 of those would be 16, right? So it's 2.5. Aero Scouts are going to take out this BMP3 here, and this is a big point investment. It's just, yeah, 27Y with all the IFVs. If you know you're going to get this map, you can put more infantry and trucks, but you don't know you're going to get this map. So I do like that about the ranked pool, the fact that there is variety, lots of different types of maps, as opposed to just one size fits all. I know people who really hate it and constantly petition to get this map removed, even though it's a lot of fun, because they don't like it because, you know, I mean, they make up cope excuses, but the real excuse is because they play armored divs and then they play on this map and they're like, oh, I can't do anything. Well, what's an infantry div supposed to do on Vertigo? Do you know what I mean? It's literally the same thing. So, because this has the ERA, it will survive 2 TOW2 hits. But it will not survive 2 TOW2 hits and a Phantom HE. So there's the bombers coming out, and this one didn't drop, sadly. Could have got this guy. And this is exactly what you want the 101st Airborne bombers for. You don't use them, you know, aggressively. You just use them when you absolutely have to against high-value targets. But Egg is still on this +2, right? So Phantom's coming in again. And he will be on a +4 if he takes India. The only problem facing Egg is this Humvee TOW2, which is probably going to hit him, because there's a big open field there. This one's going to get vision as well. So can he notice this in time to smoke and use the bomber on it? No, I'm not sure what happened there. This must have just gone behind that and it broke LOS. Anyway, he got side shot on that second one, so it killed him. Otherwise he would have lived because of the, you know, the 2 TOW2 front shot thing. You saw it here, it's the same weapon. Don't give me that, it's the same weapon. Alright, it was a side shot on the second one. So, big oof for Egg, because now he's just lost 2 of his CVs. I don't actually know how many he's got left. Because we know he lost two there, and he lost one here. The BMP2 ones I'm not 100% sure about, but I think he's lost both infantry ones. So I think he might be out of CVs. I mean, we'll see, right? Oh, okay, there you go. Because I was going to say if a CV shows up, then he wasn't, but no, he ran out of CVs there. So Egg, he could have taken that. He could have won it, but he was too frivolous with his CVs. And that made him lose, right? Because he had 9 minutes and he was on like a +3 or whatever, but no, he ran out of CVs. So Gucci Gang Hots rank 136 with 225 games. Quick maths, maybe, maybe. And then Egg with 20. So a very good performance from Egg for a guy with 62 total games, if that is accurate. Wow, I mean. 85% win rate with 20 games. I think this was probably a smurf, unless there really are people who walk around calling themselves Egg. You must watch Hippie YouTube videos, right? 20 games with 85% win rate. That's pretty impressive, actually. And he's not, you know, two packed games, so he clearly hasn't been playing much 27Y. It was pretty impressive. But yeah, too frivolous with his CVs. I think Gucci Gang's strategy was a very good one. Just spread them out, spread them out, spread them out. Would have been cool to see him buy a howitzer at some point. But yeah, if you look at the kills, we know he had 6 CVs from the deck review. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there it goes. So yeah, pretty interesting game. Do let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. GG.